It's a rainy morning out there. Boy, it's been stormy. How many of you woke up to thunder and lightning, especially in Katy and Sugar Land and the Woodlands? Well, here it is, our forecast featuring a 60% chance for the thunderstorms continuing through about 9 o'clock in the morning, and then we'll see the rain chances dissipating. By noon, maybe some breaks of sun, 64 and a high today of 67 degrees. So for the art car parade, I'm expecting it to be borderline dry with the worst of the rain moving off toward the coastal areas before we get to the early afternoon. So that's very good news in the forecast. Now, what we're going to see for the rest of our forecast period today involves these scattered thunderstorms continuing through the morning. We're going to take a look at those coming up in full detail once my weather graphics wake up on this Saturday morning. So bear with me there. Brandy, here's a go. Here's a look at the radar. I want to show you this storm in Humble, in the Woodlands, and also one in Sugar Land and Richmond-Rosenberg. This one is moving northeast toward Pecan Grove at about 30 miles an hour. Lots of lightning, nothing severe right now, just good morning symbols in the sky. Brandy?
Overnight, France released this video of missiles being launched from a Navy ship. France joined the U.S. and Britain in the precision military strikes on Syria in response to a suspected chemical weapons attack on civilians there. Overnight, Syria claimed it intercepted most of those missiles. 110 were fired in all, more than double the amount of weapons launched last year. The missiles targeted research, production, and storage facilities for Syria's chemical weapons. And Vladimir Putin has commented on the attacks, calling them an act of terrorism against a sovereign state. Here's Terry Okita.
U.S., British, and French forces unleashed more than 100 missiles on Syria, targeting a scientific research center and 2 suspected chemical weapons storage facilities.
The purpose of our actions tonight is to establish a strong deterrent against the production, spread, and use of chemical weapons.
The strikes came hours before a team of international inspectors was set to arrive in Douma, the site of a suspected chlorine gas attack 1 week ago that killed more than 40 people. President Trump says Syrian President Bashar al-Assad is behind what he calls the evil, despicable attack.
These are not the actions of a man. They are crimes of a monster instead.
In Damascus, hundreds of Syrians are protesting the U.S.-led strikes, honking horns in a show of defiance and shouting, "We are your men, Bashar." America and its allies claim they are not calling for regime change, but say Assad will be held accountable if he continues gassing his people.
But right now, this is a one-time shot, and I believe that it sent a very strong message to dissuade him, to deter him from doing this again.
The U.S. says the coalition destroyed important infrastructure, a setback to Syria's chemical weapons program. Russia and Iran condemn the strikes on Syria and vow to stand by their ally, warning there will be consequences. Terry Okita, CBS News, London.
The Syria strike is getting a lot of attention online, with people all over the world talking about it. In the U.S., some support President Trump's decision to intervene in Syria, but others worry about retaliation strikes from Russia. And still more criticize the president for flip-flopping on his stance to stay out of Syria. Overnight, Texas Senator Ted Cruz issued this statement showing support. It says, in part, it is our national interest to deter the use of chemical weapons. That includes preventing those chemical weapons from falling into the hands of the radical Islamic terrorist elements in Syria. Meanwhile, the Lone Star State's other senator, John Cornyn, simply retweeted the president's announcement with a single-word comment: good. With reaction coming from both sides, we want to know what you think this morning. Do you approve of U.S. intervention in Syria? Vote at khou.com/vote now or vote on our free KHOU 11 mobile app. The tension between the U.S. and Syria dates back to the beginning of the complicated Syrian civil war. Eric Flack helps us understand what led to this point.
The Syrian civil war started in 2011 when Syrians rose up as part of the Arab Spring protests against Middle East dictators, and peaceful protesters were shot at by government forces. The following year, President Obama told Syrian President Bashar al-Assad that he shouldn't use chemical weapons against his people or he risks crossing a red line. Then in 2013, the worst chemical weapons attack against the Syrian people in Ghouta. More than 1,000 people died. That prompted the U.S. and Russia to reach a deal to remove or destroy Syria's chemical weapons by 2014. That happened in 2014, but after a series of chemical weapons attacks, outgoing Secretary of State John Kerry said Syria had undeclared chemical weapons that were being used on innocent people. It was 1 year ago this month that yet another nerve agent attack killed dozens, prompting the U.S. to fire cruise missiles at a Syrian airbase.
That was Eric Flack reporting. We'll, of course, follow this breaking situation and bring you any new developments on air and online at KHOU.com. You can also check our social media pages for updates. It's 7:06 right now. 2 people are in the hospital after being shot outside a sports bar along the East Freeway. Police say there was a fight overnight when Emiliano's sports bar was shutting down. One man opened fire on security guards, who then fired back. One security guard and the suspect were hit. Both are expected to be okay. New overnight, thousands of people arrived in South Africa ahead of the official funeral for Winnie Mandela today. The widow of Nelson Mandela was revered for her courage in the struggle to end white minority rule. She died 2 weeks ago at the age of 81. And many of you remember this guy, radio host Art Bell from the show Coast to Coast. The 72-year-old passed away fittingly on Friday the 13th. His show was known for his conspiracy theories about the paranormal. Also overnight, the director of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest died. Milos Forman won 2 Oscars in his Hollywood career, including one for Amadeus. He was 86 years old. This morning, rescue teams are looking for anyone who might be trapped after a tornado touched down in Arkansas. The town of Mountainburg in northwest Arkansas was hardest hit. At least 150 buildings there were damaged. 4 people were hurt. One woman managed to capture the tornado on camera as she drove by, and you can tell she was terrified. I think that would be my reaction too. Luckily, the driver and the woman got away safely. She later tweeted that video. A blood drive honoring injured HPD officer Jerry Flores gets underway in about an hour. So you can donate at the Gulf Coast Regional Blood Center using the sponsor code 3660. Flores underwent surgery overnight after being critically hurt in a freak accident. We're told he fell out of a cart and hit his head on concrete during a charity golf tournament. Doctors say he fractured his skull.
He jumped on the back of a golf cart to go up to the clubhouse where they could hang out and socialize, and somewhere within that trip he fell off the golf cart and hit the back of his head and was unconscious from that point on.
Flores is a 26-year veteran of HPD. He's well known and beloved in the community, and he has a lot of supporters wishing him well. Houston's mayor, police chief, even the manager of the Astros are asking for prayers on his behalf. We are too. At 7:09 now, talking sports. Our Stros take on the Texas Rangers in Game 2 of the series this afternoon. They beat them last night, 3-2. Here's some extra incentive to go to today's game in case you needed any. The first 10,000 fans in Minute Maid Park get a George Springer World Series MVP bobblehead. First pitch is at 3 o'clock. And Game 1 of the playoffs are set to launch tomorrow night at home in the Toyota Center. Our Houston Rockets will take on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Good news here, tickets are still available if you want to go. You can get all of that information on the Rockets postseason on our website, KHOU.com. Today, women from all over the country are going to come together to compete to join the Texans cheerleaders. Auditions are this afternoon. Check-in starts at 3, and finalist interviews will be held tomorrow. The only requirements, the applicants have to be 18 years old and have either a high school degree or a GED. They can have part or full-time jobs or be a full-time mom. If you want to stick around downtown this afternoon, you can check out more than 200 art cars that are going to cruise the streets starting at 2. While quite a few do come from out of town, even out of state, most were created here in Houston, and some very young artists played a big role in getting them ready. At Lovett Elementary, those screams aren't just for what's coming, but who
Love It Owl is Al Van Gogh. This is their 5th year consecutively participating in the parade.
Al Van Gogh was joined in a pre-parade procession.
It was amazing seeing all the diverse art. My favorite would probably be the hippo car.
By a few of the other art cars made by HISD students like Love It 4th grader Ellie Boynton.
I do this after school with my art teacher, Miss Mock, on Mondays and Wednesdays.
I liked doing it. It was fun to paint the door blue.
It takes a lot for an art teacher to go above and beyond the call of duty. Just teaching art, the elements of art is one thing, but to actually spend that time before, after school, on the weekends, creating these art cards is phenomenal.
Those teachers know, sure, it's a hoot for kids, but it's extending lessons beyond the classroom.
It's really preparing the student for the 21st century. They're working on their public speaking skills. They're having the opportunity to use all of those things that they're learning inside of the classroom out in the real world.
So when they go to Saturday's real parade,
I've been ever since kindergarten.
They can feel a sense of pride.
I go every time because it's our art car and I love it. It's so fun.
Students from 21 different HISD campuses ranging from elementary to high schools worked on art cars this year. Very cool.